board meeting will come to order.
Okay, we're good now.
Will come to order at 5:02. In attendance are Ken Hall, Larry Osborne, Scott Edwards, Cynthia Andrews, Carrie Linder, Nick Dirkman, and staff Maureen Cole and Denise Butcher. Welcome to our first meeting of 2019, and a special welcome to Cynthia Andrews and Carrie Linder, our new members.
Yay.
Thank you.
And as this is our January meeting, our first order is to elect a new chair and vice chair, as well as the appointment of the liaisons. I thought I would start by reading briefly the bylaws regarding the chair and vice chair
Thank you.
positions. According to our bylaws, it says there will be chair and vice chair positions for the library board. Each position will be a one-year term. The library board will select members as chair and vice chair each January with a nomination and voice vote process. The vice chair shall assume the duties of the chair in the absence of the chair. The chairperson shall preside over library board meetings and is responsible for identification of subcommittees, seeing that the board vacancies are filled, and overseeing the business of the board. So, as we said, the first order, we'll do chair first. So nominations are now in order for the office of chair.
I nominate Scott for the chair position.
I second it.
Okay, Scott Edwards is nominated. Are there any further nominations? If not, nominations are closed, and this vote is for chair. All those in favor of Scott Edwards, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, Scott Edwards is chair. Thank you.
Did you vote for yourself or did you abstain?
Oh, I abstained.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
And so I just read the bylaws there, that's for both chair and vice chair. So basically the vice chair will sit in if I can't make a meeting, and I have no conflicts except next meeting is my 40th birthday. But I am celebrating on the weekend, so I will be in attendance. So there should be no conflicts.
No
So-
conflict. However, a cupcake and a birthday song might be necessary. Yeah.
So now we are open for nominations for vice chair.
Nobody? We need a vice chair. It, in theory, should be somebody who's been here. You can nominate yourself also, by the way.
Well, I would nominate Larry Osborne.
I would second that.
Larry Osborne has been nominated for vice chair. Are there any further nominations? If not, nominations for vice chair are closed, and this vote is for Larry Osborne as vice chair. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Larry Osborne is the vice chair.
Just make sure you're here.
And Larry, that doesn't mean you have to be chair next year. You can lobby somebody else strong on them, to do it for you.
Okay, next order is the appointment of liaisons. And I will turn that over to Mo.
All right, so the opening we have is to the foundation board. So Ken, but wait a minute. Ken, are you willing to continue going to the Friends meetings?
I will go to the Friends meeting.
Great.
Yep.
And Nick, you must go to the Library District Advisory Committee because that is a position that had to go through the appointment process with the Board of County Commissioners. So I'm not willing to redo that at this time. And it takes a lot of attendance to kind of get up to speed with that. So All right, as long as you're agreeable. Thank you very, very much. So the opening that we have is to the foundation board. And they meet about every other month, I would say. And now that the building is done, the activity is sporadic. Jan was our representative. They typically meet on a Monday night, and they typically meet in the evening, as I just indicated. So it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours every other month is basically the scope of that task. Is there anybody who would be willing to do that?
What does the liaison do?
Just make sure that there's information flow back and forth between the groups. So what we will do is, on our agenda, once a month, we ask for reports from each of those liaisons, just to get up to date. And so it's basically, so we're all working in harmony towards the same things is all it is, because we have heard too many horror stories of places where the support groups do not work in harmony, and we are determined to work in harmony and all keep going in the same direction. So we want to be friends here, and having liaisons has been a really good system of keeping the communication lines open and knowing what we're all doing, besides just coming from me.
Also, from what I can, I've only been on here for what, year and a half, 2 years, is that a verbal report is fine. You don't have to, nobody's going to issue a written report because this is all recorded anyway. So.
Do you think, I wouldn't mind doing it, but am I too new?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
It would be actually a great way for you to learn, get to meet more people in this local library community, if you've got the time for it.
So Carrie, are you interested?
If you're interested, you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, well, I will volunteer to do that, but somebody will send me the information about the particulars of when we meet and the
Yeah.
minutes and all that
Yeah,
stuff. Yes,
I will
okay.
get you added to that email list.
So your
And-
expectation of me would be at our next meeting, if we've had a foundation meeting, to do some kind of verbal report
Yep.
to this group.
Yep, that's it. And I'll be here and I attend those meetings as well.
Okay,
So it's you and me, we're a team, and it's just kind of to have somebody besides staff. Great, thank you so much.
That's all the liaison positions.
That's it,
filled,
yeah.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 3, public comments. I don't see any public, so we'll move on to number 4, the approval of the minutes. The minutes from the previous meeting were distributed prior to this meeting. Are there any corrections for the minutes?
Move to approve.
Move second. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. And the minutes are approved. All right, we'll move on to item number 5, the library director report and statistics.
The highlight of your month.
Yes.
Yes. Well, so I sent this out, so you've already read about some of these things, but I did want to let you know that a survey asking people what they would be interested in finding in the Library of Things was launched yesterday. And a Library of Things being a collection of things just besides books and DVDs and stuff. It would be things like cookware. What are some ideas?
Home and garden,
Home and garden, yeah.
games.
Games, canning stuff. Yeah. Musical instruments, sewing machine, all that kind of stuff. And the Office of Sustainability and Solid Waste up at the county came to us proposing that they work with us on this because they see this as a big, huge thing for sustainability. And they are giving the 8 libraries that are interested in our consortium who are interested in doing a grant. Our grant will be very close to $9,000, which is a lot of money to get it started. So we hope to get it launched by June. And we'll see how it goes. So this survey is to find out from people what they would like to see in this collection. So it's online too, right? It is. Okay.
Is it in the library too?
And it's in the library, yeah. There's hard copies in the library right next to the Friends kiosk.
Oh.
Yeah, over by the wall of the Carnegie. So please do check that out. And then I sent you guys a couple pieces of information about the collection development kerfuffle down in Salem Public Library, which is super interesting, particularly because of the characters involved. One of them being the former state librarian, and he was speaking on behalf of his wife as well, who is a retired librarian from Salem Public Library. And as I understand it, one of his reasons that he's unhappy with how they've been doing their deselection is that they've just gone way over the top with the rate of deselection. So they've been at a pretty high rate for several years, and then all of a sudden they bumped it up real dramatically. It's my understanding that they're heading into a building project and they may have some special reasons for doing that. And I don't know if that was well communicated. I have no idea of the particulars. I just found it really interesting that this discussion was going on and thought you all should be aware of it, because this is something that certain people they don't really understand the life cycle of materials. And we cannot keep everything that we buy. You know, if you just stop and think about 2 years worth of purchases, after a while, things are just not going to fit on the shelf anymore. And they're going to get really ratty and people are not going to want to check them out and the shelves will be too packed, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously we have to get rid of things, and how you do that and how you do it when you go through more of an extraordinary effort, like when you're getting ready for a building project or something like that, and how you communicate that with the public, it turns out that it's really one of the most sensitive topics that we deal with in the library. So I thought it would be really good, since that was going on in Oregon, for you to be aware of it. And did anybody have any questions that might have arisen from that general topic?
Is there a last item policy here? I remember when I worked in Idaho, there was a union catalog, and if you, as part of the weeding process, you check the catalog to make sure that you weren't the only library holding it in the state. Is there such a thing here?
I don't think there is a statewide agreement about that, no.
That was very useful, because otherwise the whole state loses access.
Yeah, no, I definitely can understand that, and I can't think of that we do have that policy here. I mean, I do think that even in our consortium, people probably look really, really closely at an item when they know it's the last one in the consortium, particularly because of the way the publishing industry works, and we can't always replace it. And that's the problem. That's the real problem, is that you just can't always get replacements for things, and that's kind of out of our control. You can get used ones, obviously, off of Amazon or whatever, and boy, they come to you in all kinds of condition too, as we know. Yes. But yeah, that it's publishers kind of have you. So no.
So one of the things you mentioned, and I think it was in the notes, you plan to bring the policy for Oregon City to us, and then we can really look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, I listened to the OPB,
Think Out Loud.
Think Out Loud, and one of the things that really came to my mind was the difference between being an archive of historical books versus being focused on the current needs of your community. And that seemed to be a really big. I hadn't really thought about it from that standpoint before, but I found that to be really interesting. Because maybe they're, that would really be big to have that notation that you're an archive for historical books. I mean, it seems like it's way beyond what you would typically want to try to do.
It's way beyond what you would, in a public library, what you do. A lot of libraries like us have small historical sections, which we, carefully curate as to what's in there. But, you know, we can't keep like, even if we could keep a series from like the very first volume all the way to the current in good condition, you know, it's just impossible almost to have a full series. And this is where we really, really benefit from being in a consortium. You know, then hopefully other people will have those volumes or whatever. You know, and I mean, it's not like it's not hard on us too. You know, we want to have certain things that we can't have all the time, just because of space or because certain things also don't circulate. And if they don't circulate in your community, you know, as Denise says, and I love the way she says it, you have to earn your real estate. You know, you have to earn your space on the shelf. And we don't have that much shelf space, honestly. And if it's not circulating, well, then maybe something else would circulate. So we really have to look at everything, even stuff that does make sense. You just don't always have the space. So, but we're definitely not in archives. Last night, we had, as several of you know, we had our city commission meeting where we presented our library board update and our strategic plan. And Ozzy and Scott and Nick, thank you so much for being there. Jan presented for us, and Don Wright was also here. And it turned out, I thought the meeting went really, really well. Jan represented the library board super well, very articulately. She gave a nice lead in right to my presentation on the strategic plan, which seemed to be very well received. And I think the city commission really appreciated all the many, many months of work that we put on it, all the eyes that were on it, all the little, you know, revisions that we obviously had made to it. And we got good marks. I mean, one commissioner had one idea, and that was like, oh, well, you know, I thought, in fact, I told her I would suggest this to you. So she said that fortify infrastructure sounded to her like we were talking about the building, like the plumbing or whatever, right? And she's like, once I read it, I understood what it meant, but I didn't really know what it meant until I got into it. She was like, I was trying to think of something else that you could use, but I just couldn't think of it. So of course, I was thinking about this last night. And I was like, okay, what about if we said fortify administrative infrastructure? Would that be like a word that would encompass enough of those things that are in there, which are all about like policies, library board stuff, staff development, you know, things that are kind of in the background? Would that word help describe it a little better? Because it's just one word addition.
It sounds more accurate, maybe a little more clear.
A little more clear.
Yeah. Do we need to vote on that, or?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're generally in favor of it, I'll just do it. I also found a typo. Well, I was going through it really well. And actually, I can't find it again, but I will find it because I know it's in there. I said annual report or something like that, you know? So I'm like, so this is...
Where's spell check?
Yeah. Well, so it wouldn't pick that up.
Grammar check.
Right, grammar check, there you go. So yeah, I'll just make a couple of those changes, let them know about it. And then basically what they'll do is on February 6th at the first regular meeting in February, a city commission meeting in February, they will adopt it by resolution. And then that's the end of it. We put it on shelf and never think about it again. Just kidding. So just to follow up with that, I will be going to the City Commission retreat on February 1st and 2nd. And what they want to know at those retreats is like what we've been doing and what we're going to be doing. And see, we are in the perfect position of like, they know our whole strategic plan. They know we've been working on it. So I'm going to kind of go through that strategic plan, organize things by year, and, you know, make a list of what we've done, make a list and note those things that are actually like working towards things in the strategic plan, and then lay out kind of like the 19 and the 20 of like, this is what our next biennium looks like. And we should be like super organized. It's like, you know, it shouldn't be that much work. So I will send you a copy of that report as well. And it may end up being in a couple of, more than a couple, in a few PowerPoint slides that go into the bigger presentation that we do for the retreat. But I'll get that to you before I actually go to the retreat. In fact, you should have it sometime next week because I have to have it done by the 14th, so no pressure. And then I can't remember if I told you guys, but we're having problems with our sliding doors, especially, well, both sets actually. They're so annoying. So we were working with a local or a company, and they were doing good work for us to fix them. And then we thought, you know, this might be a warranty issue, so we're getting the original installers back in tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., which is what Denise and I have to look forward to. We are super excited. So we will get that taken care of. One of the big programs that also, this is one of the things that was in the strategic plan is Gina has started looking at community-wide read for next fall. It will not be anything on the scale of what Lake Oswego does because they go way overboard. But we are going to try and do that. And then today we had all of these school media assistants have their monthly meeting with the district librarian at the library, and they got a tour. And Barrett reported that it went really, really well. She attended it, and I believe she's going to be attending their monthly meetings from here on out. And it kind of is this huge crack in the, in the facade with the schools that we have been needing to make this connection for years. And I think we finally have got our in. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then, as Jan reported last night, the difference between what we are borrowing and what we are lending out in our consortium continues to go down. And that figure is, where was that figure in here? It is down to 3410. Last month was 4147. This time last year was 5946. So we're doing so much better with our collection. So what that tells us is that our collection is improving on site and fewer books have to be borrowed, and we are able to lend better books out. So it's all a really good reflection of the condition of our collection these days. So I'm super excited about that. And what you guys probably don't know is that the foundation gave us $50,000 to beef up our collections. The adult group has done all of their purchasing, and the children's group is just wrapping up their purchasing with that money. So it's super sweet. Yeah. Otherwise, the statistics looked like December, They didn't look that different from this year this month, last year. They're pretty much in alignment. We're to the point now where we're apples to apples instead of, these fantastic increases that we saw for a while. But we still have like a door count that's over like 800 over last year at this time. I thought we looked pretty good.
Yeah, I thought they looked good.
Yeah.
I went through them.
Did anybody have any comments or questions on them?
One thing I didn't print out a copy, so I can't look at it, but what we were talking about before with the collection, the inflow, outflow of books, I know it's on there on a monthly basis. Is the annual numbers?
It does.
I couldn't remember.
It collects annually. So the difference is 14,000 to the good. So we're doing 14,000 at this time. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Loaning more or bringing in fewer. So we're doing a lot better. Yeah. Okay. That is my report for this month. Any more questions? Oops. Okay.
All right, I want to move on to item 6, review of bylaws and American Library Association policies.
Yep. So I'm bringing this to you just because I feel like an annual look at this to make sure that we don't want to update it. It hasn't been updated since 2003, I believe. Yep.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it needs to be updated, but if we don't look at it, we'll never know. So creation, the name, the purpose, I think is always good to at least know and agree on our purpose. Maintain active communications with us. Advise the city commission and library director on policy matters, which is why I bring all of our policies here. Assist in the preparation and presentation of the library's annual operating budget. And you guys get, some years you're not very involved in that. It's the timing of it is really funky because we get information from the finance department and sometimes there's not time to have even a meeting with you about it. So, we'll bring you information as we can. Yes?
So can we go back to number 1?
Maintain active communications with the library director.
Well, and then it says staff, and it says managers and staff. And after the big discussion last night
Oh, yes.
about
Don't you dare call my staff without my permission.
about how the commission should work with the city staff and that kind of
Right.
thing. That seemed like really odd the way that it was worded to me. But
It is kind of odd.
Because I really see us interacting obviously with you and with Denise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like almost like our liaisons is who we're interacting with. And not that we would possibly, I don't see us doing that anyhow, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not clear to me.
No, it's not clear. And they did have a really good point last night when they were talking about Tony's position with the commission and whether the commissioners should be talking to other staff in the city. And obviously they can talk to anybody. The point is, should they be giving other staff in the city direction? And it's, first of all, you're an advisory board. So you don't even govern me. You don't have the power to fire me, for instance, right? But you definitely can't direct library staff to do something. That's not your job to give them job direction, right? So the other thing I guess I would take away from last night's is you also shouldn't use your position from being on the library board as somehow influencing what happens at the library in a way that would be beneficial to you. That wouldn't also, it needs to be equitable, the same thing for everybody. So you don't get special benefits, and you shouldn't try to pressure staff into giving you special benefits. Really? I'm on the library board? Yeah, you're gonna find me?
I want that cultural pass.
Yeah, exactly.
2 weeks more.
Yeah. So, yeah, I see that they're actually missing the comma in here, first of all. Library director, comma, library manager, staff, and other relevant city staff.
I guess it really came to light after last night. And our role is even less direct than the
Yeah, it probably
city
is.
commission.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it needs to be changed for that.
Well, it could potentially be clarified, but fortunately, it's never been an issue.
I don't see it being an issue.
Yeah. So,
I wasn't reviewing them from that.
yeah, no, I know. Yeah. Assist in the development of short and long-term goals for the provision of library services to the community, such as your help with the strategic plan. Represent the interest of library users of the city, like Jan did last night, and you guys were here. Foster public knowledge and support of the library's role in the community and promote the use of library by city residents. I know you're promoting everybody to go use the library. Participate in network or state activities intended for library board members that promote or advance the cause of library services. Now, one thing we've rarely done is get involved in state activities from the library board level. And I guess there are opportunities occasionally. Like there's state legislative day, and if I went to that, I could drag along a couple of library board members with me if they're interested, something like that. I don't know, I could do a better job of letting you guys know about those opportunities. Perform such other related duties as requested by the city commission and provide public meeting time for citizen input, which is what we're doing right now. So, to me, that's like one of the most important parts of this. The organization, the member eligibility, the meetings. Oh, so unless anybody, I'm just going to breeze through some of this stuff because, it's a board and supposing that you looked at it and if you have questions, please let me know. The one thing I did want to point out is on section 6, meetings, a minimum of 9 regular meetings shall be scheduled annually. There's another typo. So we only have to have 9 meetings annually. Just saying that we don't have to have 12 if we don't think there's enough business for 12. There are boards that regularly take off a month, like, let's say August and December or something like that, just because December's crazy for everybody and August is the middle of summer when people go on vacation. So we can think about that when I present my calendar of proposed topics. We've been so busy the last year or so, that was like not even an option. And obviously that's the most important thing, is to get the work done. Yeah. We record the minutes. Majority of the members, we only have 6 members right now. We should have 7. And if we want to change these, then we have to submit them to the city commission. So does anybody have any questions on that stuff? No? Okay.
Are questions on the entire document?
Yeah, or anything.
I really didn't kind of understand item 7 under 6.
Item 7.
Citizens may introduce further agenda items at the beginning of each meeting. I couldn't understand the future agenda item on it.
Oh, well, since I've seen this happen at a city commission meeting. You know, they take public comment at the beginning, just like we do, but we never get any. But at that point in time, somebody could come in and they say, I really would like you guys to talk about such and such topic. Could you please bring that up in a future agenda?
I see.
Yeah. And we wouldn't have to address it right then. You know, we could say, sure, we'll add it to a future agenda. And then we would probably try to make sure that person is notified so that they could be there for the,
That makes sense.
yeah, okay. Okay, great. And then the next thing, I did also just gave you the municipal charter format of it, which is basically the same. Maybe written a little bit nicer.
It is have our elections being held in July.
Yeah, that bothered me.
Yeah.
Because we don't do that at all.
No,
But
that makes sense.
no, and I'll point that out to Katie. And
That's
No.
the fiscal year, though? That's the
that is the
fiscal
beginning
year.
of the fiscal year.
So
Yeah.
That's probably why it was in there.
Probably why it was in there originally, but it doesn't match up with how we do the rotation
Correct.
of people anymore. Yeah, let me point that out to Katie. I don't think it's like big enough to change it, everything, but I'll see what she says. Okay, then do you want to go into the ALA stuff? American Library Association stuff? So I attached a lot of things here. The Oregon Library Association standards recommend that the library board adopt these documents annually. So that's in our strategic plan, actually. And so I don't know that we've ever formally, maybe they formally did it way back in the beginning or something, but we certainly haven't done it lately, and we certainly haven't done it annually.
No.
Yeah. So, it's a lot of material, but what's kind of nice about all of these things is it gives you the background for how libraries, how they operate and what their code of ethics is in their operations. That we treat everybody the same, that privacy and confidentiality is really critical to us, that we make things available to people even when, like for instance, information is available to minors. It's up to their parents to make sure they know what they're watching. Although we do have filters on the children's computers. So we are not we don't just disregard community desire. But we're also like, but we're not the parents standing in for somebody. You know, we don't make those decisions.
So is your question whether we should adopt these
Well-
periodically, or
Yeah.
what is your?
Well, my question's not, should we, I believe we should adopt them periodically. My question is like, have you guys reviewed them and do you have any questions on them? And, you know, could we move forward with adopting them? Because I recommend that we do.
Yeah, I think we should do this every year in January.
Me too.
Yeah.
For any new members to review. And I've read these before, but I absolutely would vote to approve them tonight.
Okay, yeah, because I've never presented them before.
Okay.
Because it was kind of like the review of those standards last time and then really thinking about what the standards called for and then putting that into our strategic plan. I'm like, oh, gee whiz, look at this. I'm supposed to be doing this. So it's good, you know?
It
Because
really protects, adopting them formally, publicly, protects the library and its staff and gives a foundation for a reasoned response when there's citizen concern, complaint, or agitation. And so I really think it's a good protective screen, you know,
I agree.
for the library.
Yeah, I agree.
Is it possible to adopt them as a set?
I don't see why not. I don't think we have to adopt them individually.
I would move that they be adopted then.
Well, should we do it this now, or should we do it next month when everybody has an opportunity to review them? I've reviewed them, but I don't know
They
about
came in the
everybody
mail.
else.
Yeah, has everybody reviewed them?
I do think it would be helpful just to agree with adopting them, you know, altogether, but to name them.
Sure.
So that it's clear that we did adopt this particular document on this particular day.
I had a question.
Sure. Of course you do.
Hey, that's my
I
job.
love your questions.
So the whole thing about bias and that, I mean, that always, you know, hits home with me. And I was trying to figure out how you take these and how they're incorporated into your policies and procedures, even for like the collections as an example. How's that done?
Well, I don't know that people go around actively thinking about all of these things every minute of the day. But especially the people who have gone to library school or been in libraries for a long time know that, you know, there are certain professional ethics and code of conduct that we just live by. And then as we train people, we don't run these by them, I don't think, but we talk a lot about, you know, privacy and freedom to choose what kids want, and those kinds of things, where they're particularly applicable, you know, where issues are bound to come up. That's where we end up talking about them. In collection development, I think is one of the places where you will see this the most. It is, you know, the librarians work really, really hard to make sure that they're collecting a really broad range of things. And in particular, they're really trying to pay attention to what the community seems to want, because we are trying to reflect our community plus, you know, what we think they might like or what is going on in the world or whatever, you know. So whatever their particular, for instance, political biases are, it doesn't matter. You get a broad range of things.
And maybe it's come to, at least in my mind, since politically we have such diverse views right now, and trying to make sure that those are both covered in the collection decisions that are made.
And it's really hard, you know, because there's a lot of, let's just even think about like hate speech and free speech. You know, what's the difference there? So what's the difference between something that is like truly offensive and shouldn't be on the shelf as opposed to something that somebody might want to read? You know, it's a very fine line. And, you know, there can be really good, robust discussion about that. So go for a breadth, for sure. Yeah.
So is there a motion to approve all 5 of these, which I will
I've
read by
already
name?
moved it.
Well, I want to make sure it's clear that it's all 5 of these that I will name, and then you make that motion?
I will make that motion with the modification that you just said.
Okay, second?
I'll
Second.
take it.
Okay, so this on the table is to approve the ALA policies, the 5 following: the Code of Ethics of the American Library Association, the free access to libraries for minors, and interpretation of the Library Bill of Rights, the freedom to view statement, the Library Bill of Rights, and the freedom to read statement. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. And we've adopted the ALA Library Association policies.
Excellent. Thank you
Right.
so very much. Thank you for helping me achieve something on the strategic plan.
So we'll move on to item 7, suggested topics for the calendar year.
Yeah. So I don't know why I've never thought of this before, but I thought we might as well benefit from this like brainstorm of like, oh, we should make sure that we go through certain things every year, because the last couple of years, it's like, okay, so every year we look at the standards or whatever, and we look at the Library District Advisory Report. So just those come out at certain times of the year, so I know they're going to happen. So I thought, well, we should go through everything. And then I also wanted to plug in some, have some staff come. And then I really want to get you guys over to the library for a tour so that you can see behind the scenes and kind of get a better understanding of the flow over there. And so I tried to put the things together in here as they historically happen chronologically, but then also like fill in. So like January review of bylaws, and then what I will add to this for next year is the adoption of the ALA documents. And then that can be something that just always happens. So did anybody did it look okay? I mean, this is a first for me to be this organized, so.
I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah,
I really like
very
it. I
good.
really like to look at it
Yeah.
and see what we're gonna cover when.
And we can always modify it as it goes along.
And we can always modify it. Obviously, this, like we have more topics on the agenda than just, review of the bylaws, so.
Well, one thought I had
Yes,
is July, you have review of those documents.
strategic plan update, LDAC report review, yeah.
Now, the LDAC review report, isn't that based on the full fiscal year? So would that be available?
It might not be available.
So
Yeah.
that's why I was thinking July, August, the 2 meetings, the July, August meeting, but I know August is a nice month to take off.
Well, we might, as we get closer to that, we'll know more. So maybe we could like stay a little bit flexible, and then as we know the timeline a little bit
That was one
better.
thing I really-
Yeah.
Noticed that.
And obviously we don't have to take a month off, but if we could take a month off in the summer, I just have a feeling people would appreciate it. Wouldn't be that like horrible. Okay, so tentatively, looks good. And absolutely, we can adopt it as we go along. Okay, excellent.
Right, moving on to item 8, the review of unattended children policy suggested revisions.
Yeah, so I shared this with Barrett, our youth services person. And then she just had a couple of, I can barely read mine, that was not a good highlight, sorry, Nick. She just had a couple of suggested revisions to keep the language similar to what it had been in the other places in the document. So any child, down at the very last paragraph, any child under the age of 10, instead say any child any child 9 and younger. See, I still didn't get it right. Any child 9 and younger who is alone in the library or unaccompanied by a responsible adult or sibling
Is,
over the age of 11. Age 11 and over. What? I want to use the same language as used in the first paragraph.
I know. My point was that I just found you have parents, we have caregivers, we have siblings. What's the difference why did we say sibling in that case
We don't need to?
as opposed to the caregiver, which is more generic? Because that doesn't really, it implied something different in that statement by saying
So-
sibling.
Are you saying who is alone in the library or unaccompanied by a responsible caregiver and just drop adult or sibling?
Yeah, just so it's, because, like I said,
It could be anybody.
it could be anybody.
Yep.
And that really jumped out. And let's see. No, yeah. And
That was the one spot.
I was really looking at between parent, guardian. Because a caregiver, well, I mean, it's usually parent slash guardian, basically, because there's usually some formal designation, like a foster family or something like that.
They're just at the library, though. It could be anybody, you know?
No, that's
Could
what I'm
be a
saying.
neighbor,
That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why the
Yeah.
caregiver is generically
Yeah,
anybody.
generic. Yeah, no, I like
So-
what you're saying.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
like what you're saying.
because if I take my granddaughters, I'm not the parent.
Right.
Correct.
And that would imply that someone over 11 who is not a sibling
Yep.
can also be a caretaker.
Yep. And actually, we use the word caregiver like everywhere else.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
In that one paragraph, any of the following situations and others determined by library staff, staff attempting to contact the child's parent or guardian, should guardian be caregiver or, because if a child is like in daycare or being taken care of by a random aunt or some other person for the day, I think we might not want to limit ourselves to just guardian. You could do parent slash guardian or caregiver.
Well, I think on this situation, like, we're not going to be able to figure that out, though. Probably we're only going to have a record of the parent's caregiver, assuming the kid has a card, a library card. We would have a record of the parent or the guardian.
Guardian.
But we're not going to have just like, if they're with a random caregiver, we wouldn't be able to contact that person. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I understand that half of it, but the other half is if a kid is, like I said, in daycare, you know, you wouldn't know that, but the kid might know that.
Maybe, yeah.
You could have a situation where an 8-year-old walks in through those doors. You have no idea.
Oh, yeah, and that happens all the time, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah, I don't
Who
expect
they're
the library
with.
staff to know that. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to broaden
Yeah.
who
Right.
you might be able to contact. That's
Well, why
all.
don't we just add caregiver to that? Why don't we
Okay.
say parent, guardian, or caregiver? And then it's just like
Yeah,
not.
I think it just gives you more flexibility. Not that I think you have to know, you know,
Or-
who this
yeah.
child's random babysitter might
At
be.
that point, we'll probably call the police.
And they have just caregivers.
Yeah, which is what happens in the next sentence.
Should that be explicitly stated?
It says it, right? If that's not successful, the child will be placed in the care of the appropriate law enforcement agency. Yeah, it's very explicit. We're not hanging on to this kid ourselves.
Yeah. You're not in the business of,
We're not in the business of babysitting. Yeah. All right. Do you trust me at this point to make the appropriate changes and run with this?
Yes.
Yes.
We need to
Good.
vote on that, or?
Thank you. Yeah, why don't we adopt it as Mo says, as the Queen says?
Is there a motion to approve as Mo has given us this policy revision?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of adopting the revised child policy according to corrections Mo is going to make, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no.
I will send it to you. Please don't have any corrections.
Only thank you.
You will, I know.
I'll be good.
All right, moving on to number 9, communications.
went to the Friends meeting today. Friends are busy people. They have discovered a building that they may be able to lease. At least their present building will be up on November of 2020, but I believe the owners would like them to go away early, and they may get some concessions. The building they're looking at is on 7th Street, a block above the library. And it's a fair size space, probably about the size of this room. It's not really huge. 2,500 square feet, where the present location is, I believe, 3,000 square feet. There's adequate parking. it's, they're reviewing it. They'll make some sort of decision on it in a while. Last month was their 20th anniversary, and they had a good month. They sold about $2,400 worth, or no, $5,400 worth of material, and they received donations close to $1,000. So they're pretty happy about that. And of course, what happens with that money is some of it wanders over to the library. But when you can, if you make $4,000 a month in sales and you're paying $3,200 a month for rental for your property, that takes a fair bite out of your the amount of money you can donate. And they're expecting to get some concessions from their present landowner, and they feel that they'll be paying much less on the next place. But that's all to be decided and negotiated. Harriet has retired, but she still shows up. And so we'll see. I don't know who's going to take her place. I think they're just working together. Anything else you think needs to be added?
No, good job.
All right, so we won't have a foundation report this month.
And there hasn't been a meeting.
Hasn't been an
No.
LDAC.
No LDAC either.
All right, so we will move on to item 10, future agenda items.
See, next month in February, it looks like what I've got is review of the budget, review of the city commission retreat, and review of draft behavior policy. And I don't know about the budget because I don't know if we'll have any budget figures to share. But we certainly, I will definitely can fill you in on how the retreat goes, and this gives us a hard deadline to work on the behavior policy, which is fantastic for me because I need those deadlines. Is it anything else?
Is there any new business? Oh, since there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Hey.
Now, have you logged out on